Alright, so finishing up my internship here in Biloxi, Mississippi. Troy Abrams, I'm doing the Orientation Mobility Specialist certification. Part of the certification, I'm going to put my sunglasses on because it's nice and bright in Mississippi. Part of the certification is doing the UKAT and the RASW form as part of your reflective analysis on the student work. So I picked a gentleman that was 52 years old. He was blind from glaucoma. His vision is 20/200 in one eye, and the other is significantly worse. Legally blind, and had never had orientation and mobility whatsoever. He receives services starting at the beginning of May. A gentleman came out from Alabama, where he's from, handed him a cane, gave him like maybe an hour lesson and sent him on his way. The VA picked him up, and since he is a veteran, he received services there, which is where I got to meet him. The veteran that we'll call Lane Frost received an evaluation by me. I took him in several locations, one to go across the VA grounds, the campus there, and see how he traveled. During that time I noted how he was traveling, what he did and did not see based on his own point or perspective. So I had him describe what he could and could not see, tell me what he saw when we were walking. I also made note of things he missed, such as stumbling or fall. He didn't fall, but stumbling and tripping, which is a big problem that he had doing the traveling. The other location that I gave an evaluation on was inside the actual blind rehab center building. During that time he was able to travel pretty well. He didn't really have too much trouble because, of course, it's a perfect hallway. It was actually designed for use by blind and visually impaired people, so there's minimal possibility of contacting stuff as long as you can walk down the hall straight. Since he had remaining vision, he didn't have too much of a problem there. He could actually see some signs if they were big enough and of high contrast. So that was part of the evaluation. The other part of the evaluation I did was actually traveling through a residential area. He said he travels a residential area quite frequently. He goes to the mall and needed assistance for that. So going through that, he stumbled quite frequently. In Biloxi, Mississippi, of course, Katrina had hit several years ago, 10 years ago actually, to the anniversary this month, and there's a lot of uneven sidewalks, a lot of uneven ground, and which he stumbled over a lot. Missed curbs, misstepped off of curbs. He also relayed to me that when he's at home, he's had trouble on areas that he's been to before, going through parking lots. He's stubbed his foot and tripped over speed bumps that he already knew were there. Based on that, I decided that through the UKAT process that his best bet was to use a cane for travel, just for lower protection and to make sure he didn't run into things and get hurt. So that was the evaluation of him. As far as doing the analysis, I took him through several things. His main overreaching goal was to become 100% cane traveler and proficient in cane skills. Through that process, he was taught 2-point touch, constant contact, diagonal technique, close quarters technique, as well traveling indoors, outdoors, in various other locations, residential, rural, stores, stairs, escalators, elevators, and the like. Starting off with the RASW. RASW, I think, is a very precise form in the fact that it causes you to focus on that goal. What is the real goal? What are you trying to accomplish with this student? And it makes you focus on that. And that focus is what drives your instruction. If you're instructing on something that the student doesn't need, it makes no sense. It's kind of useless in the fact that you're not teaching them something. Now, of course, it's great to review, but through this reflection process, it wants you to hone in on these skills. So through the RASW process, I noticed that as soon as he got a cane in his hand and was able to travel, he was doing well. It dropped the number of trips, falls and stuff, or trips and stumbles dramatically. From, say, a 15-minute walk, stumbling a dozen times, to a 15 walk, maybe stumbling 3 times, okay? And slight stumbles, as in like the cane missed something, so he landed up stumbling it. And that just kind of happens. From there we did some constant contact, which he decided he really liked. And it looks like a lot of the older veterans like that just because of injuries and stuff that they had. And it looked like he traveled best using that. So through that process, we went through all the techniques, and the actual reflection part causes you to think back, and the questioning, what did he do? Well, is he thinking this? Does he understand why we're doing 2-point touch and where it would be effective? And why are we doing constant contact? Where would that be effective? Where would we use close quarters technique or diagonal technique? What is your go-to for that? What situation would you feel that that's the most effective part for you? So as we went through, that caused me as an instructor to think about everything that my student was doing and actually question not just whether he was doing well or not tripping, but also question, what is he thinking? How could I help him better? If I explained a how or why, would that make a difference in his practice of using the technique? So with Lane, we went through that, and he was very good at vocalizing what he thought as we did stuff, which kind of made that process easy. And so throughout that RASW process, I would ask him questions, and he was easily engaged in answering them, just for the fact that he wanted to not trip and fall anymore. And so it was really easy halfway through to actually get these questions and bring him into understanding and practicing and being willing. Because when he first came, he didn't want to use that cane. He didn't remember most of what was taught even in that one lesson because he didn't care to, and he even said he wasn't going to use it no matter what. It was just because they gave it to him that he had to do the lesson. Now the other portion, the professional learning community, also is a great part of the RASW process, because not only does it get a chance for me to understand what the student's doing and teach them, but it also gives me a chance to reflect on what other people would teach, how they might teach it, what their suggestion would be. So that way it gives me a way to look at something differently, gives me a different light. Maybe there's a technique that's really worked with one person that they've worked with, and then that same technique didn't, and they can say, hey, when I was teaching constant contact, the swing width wasn't working for one guy because he wasn't sure how far he was swinging, so I used arc definers. But when I used arc definers with another student, that made them swing too narrow. So there's different aspects of the professional learning community that are helpful, and it gives you a chance to share and learn from each other in that professional community. So I think that was a really good process, and I often ask questions of others that were there that are comms to see what they would do and how they would do it, and I asked for feedback on, you know, their teaching and how they would teach stuff. Sometimes before I taught and sometimes after I taught him something. It also allows you to, once the student accomplishes your goal or actually the objective, it allows you to bring in a new objective, and it gives you the chance to focus and say, when is it appropriate to put this new objective into place? And that RASW process gives you that aha moment that like, hey, they were able to do this, they've become proficient at it, I've focused on this, and we're reaching that ultimate goal of being independent and being able to travel using a cane. As we go through that process, each one became apparent as we hit it as to, okay, they've mastered this technique. Now that they've mastered all of it, they've become proficient and met their goal. My student Lane Frost, as I call him for my actual paperwork and stuff, he became very proficient at every one of the cane skills. Within a week of working with him, he was like, you know what, I'm going to use this cane, I'm going to travel with it, and I'd rather have this cane than falling all over the place. And so I believe part of that UK AT showing me and guiding me through coming up with the assistive technology that he really needed to help him, combined with the RASW process to guide me through the important teachings and really hitting each objective that would get us to the goal for my student, was very helpful. Once again, this is Troy Abrams, Biloxi, Mississippi, internship 2015. I thank everybody at the university for the opportunity, and it was an amazing experience.